Greetings from Cybertron. This is SoundJack here with a review of the Transformers Robots in Disguise Warrior Class Decepticon Bludgeon. So, I got this little fellow off a bloke on Twitter by the name of Paladin4221. So thank you, Paladin4221, for sending this, as well as Thermidor, who will be reviewed next on my channel unless something happens and I get something very interesting from Walgreens or Toys R Us exclusives. But Bludgeon is the one we are reviewing today, and he's a very interesting little fellow. Bludgeon never appeared in the Robots in Disguise cartoon, but he is very heavily based off multiple G1 incarnations of Bludgeon, who in the original series was a pretender the inner robot turned into a tank, and the outer shell was a skeletal samurai warrior. However, later toys, most notably the Revenge of the Fallen Bludgeon, merged those two concepts into one. And then we got this guy right here, who is a Redico / with like a head retool of a brand new Autobot Blastwave, who did appear in the cartoon, who himself was a heavy retool of Megatronus from the Robots in Disguise cartoon. A lot of retooling going on with this mold. Basically, what remains solidly is the legs from the Megatronus mold, and basically everything else is new. I think a little bit of the transformation on the top half is the same, maybe, but one thing to note with the retooling, there's an obvious bit where robot parts became more important to the mold than it all fitting well in vehicle mode, and that is the fact there are giant red and orange forearms and hands sticking out the back of the tank turret here. There's just no hiding that. This is just so blatant. Like, this would look fine if it was just that, but no, you got that sticking out too. And I'm like, Also, these treads on here are entirely unnecessary, but they are there for robot mode aesthetics. So like I said, this is a little bit robot mode oriented design ideas here. But that's just a relatively minor thing, because it just ends up being the aesthetic of the tank, that there's just this red bit sticking out of the main turret. And again, it would look fine by itself, but this is also a Cybertronian tank thing. This is not meant to look like anything on Earth. So, maybe they have their turrets have red bits sticking out the back of them. So why not? The fists just being completely out in the open are weird though. Taking more of a closer look at the tank. We got these very nice silver double barrels up at the front with some nice purple detailing on those barrels, on both sides of each barrel, on both barrels. You got the back of Bludgeon's head sticking up there. That's a 5mm rubber post. We'll get into why that's sticking out there. Most of the turret section is green. You got a Decepticon scan badge right there that can be scanned and used to unlock the something in the Robots in Disguise mobile game. If that's still active, I'm not positive on that. I'm pretty sure you can't download it at the very least. You also got some red striping going on here. And then, like I mentioned before, the red and orange hands sticking out of the back are there. You got this bumper. Sorry, focus is out. Bumper section. That's the orange. Well, it's kind of like a peachy kind of orange, but orangey, nonetheless, with purple eyes, headlights, whatever you want to call those. Kind of has like a very morphed Decepticon symbol face going on, like incredibly morphed. Like mostly it's like this crown section that kind of brings the look together. But like it's incredibly morphed Decepticon symbol. But I think you can see what I'm talking about, like the horns there, the horn in the middle, the eyes, and then the kind of triangular mouth section. So it's kind of there. You got these very nice treads here. They are all black, pretty much. Not a whole lot of paint, except this little bit of silver, which is going to be the robot mode foot, because there's just a point sticking out, and just tread sections that are just not detailed there, because this is part of transformation and the robot mode design. So this toy does take does focus on making the robot mode more aesthetically pleasing, because then we also have this giant gap back to here and then this giant gap here. So tank mode could, like, it certainly looks good, I will say, but more sacrifices are definitely made for the tank mode to make the robot mode look better, I will say that. And then you also got these little green sections right there with 5mm holes in them as well. There are 4 wheels on the treads, 2 on each side. However, they can kind of roll, but they don't particularly roll that well. They don't necessarily roll all that well on the surface, but you can hear them rolling and you can see them working a bit. It is a bit more than just sliding, because that's sliding, that's rolling. Gets you a little bit further. Yeah, and then you got this bit, which we'll talk about more in robot mode. Because it is a tank, it does the smart tank thing and have rotation at the turret, full 360 degrees rotation, and you are able to angle the barrels up and down, though more so up and backwards pretty much. So you got pretty much the range you would need on those barrels and on the turret. As for accessories, he does contain 1 accessory besides the turret, which is removable, even though you are completely capable of transforming this with the barrel attached, and I will show that off when we get to that point. But for his accessory, he does come with this nice sword. Nice silver paint on the blade itself and a molded green handle on there. There is this 5mm post right here, which you can use, plug into that port right there, and you can store the sword on Bludgeon's tank mode, which is pretty neat. These 5mm ports are also places to store, though they are more so designed to be used for storage in robot mode, and I'll discuss that when we get to there. But again, you can store it there if you want. And I'll just show this off because I think it's hilarious. Once I get the sword out, that sticks in there, I must say. One thing, because since the hands stick out like such, you can totally just stick the sword in there and then just have the tank like doing a crazy rotation thing and just stabbing people and cutting people off at their kneecaps just by this sheer rotation. I don't know, that I just find that funny to me. It's something you can do and it's just too silly not to mention. But that's all for the tank mode. And actually I rotated the tank the wrong way. That's all for tank mode. Let's get into some size comparisons. Let's bring that a little closer. Here he is with the Titans Return Legends class Bumblebee, sorry. You can see how they scale. Deluxe class Chrome Dome. You can see how they scale. Bludgeon's a bit longer, definitely wider. Voyager class Megatron. And you can see how they scale. And Leader class 6-shot. We'll raise the camera up just a tad. And you can see how they scale. So that is all there is to say on Bludgeon's tank mode. So let's get on to the robot mode. So in order to do that, let us first do the legs. And we are going to untab the legs. There is this tab that goes into a slot on the legs right there. So we'll undo that. I'm going to take this back section and just pull it out and rotate it down. This tab will go into a slot in there, and then there's that tab that'll go into that slot right there, that tab to that slot right there. We'll fold that down and lock that all into place, and then we will fold what will be his kneecap down and then just straighten out the leg. Boom, one leg done. Repeat that on the other side. Untab, fold, shreds in to form the leg, tab it all together, fold the knee pad down, straighten out. There you go. You got the lower half of Bludgeon all done here. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to untab the arms, what are obviously the arms. And then of note, in order to tab, they have to be at this position. So when you are extending them out, you're going to hear that click and that rotation, and that extends the arms out from not being completely flush with the main body. and giving them room. It's weird that it's on such a tight and such a loud ratchet, and I don't understand it, but you'll definitely hear the clicking when you get into an appropriate position. And then you'll just fold the arm down, rotate it forward, and you've got that done. Repeat on the other side. Straighten it out, click, rotate forward, and you got the arms done. Last thing you need to do is flip up Bludgeon's head, rotate it forward, and then collapse this chest panel with the tab here going into the slot there, and then rotate the barrels up to form over the shoulder cannons like Onslaught, who I haven't reviewed on this channel yet, from Combiner Wars because he is not with me at the moment. But that's a very nice aesthetic. You can put the sword in his hand. He's too much of a samurai. His putting the sword in his hand is just part of his transformation, I guess. But we'll take that out for now. And there you can see Bludgeon in his robot mode, and that is a gorgeous looking robot mode, I must say. There's very little kibble that is not part of like the silhouette of him. There's nothing particularly strenuous. Like there's gaps in the legs that's acceptable. There's the bumper section, but that just ends up being like his skirt because he's got this detail in the front to make it look like the skirt. The tank barrels are just a cool factor, and these shoulder pads are just a cool factor and are specifically there for the robot mode aesthetic. And holy crap, this guy looks great. I've been wanting a Bludgeon for my shelf for a long while. I missed out on the Revenge of the Fallen Bludgeon. I was looking to get the Revenge of the Fallen Bludgeon, but after getting this guy, I think I can not get him. This guy will just end up being my RID, my G1 Bludgeon, because he didn't appear in the RID, so there's no connection, no character for him in there, so he's completely free to be somebody else. But taking a closer look at Bludgeon, you can see he's got a very nice skeletal head going on. You got that very skull-like face painted in white. You got some purple going on in those deep socketed eyes, and a very nice red samurai helmet going on there. His chest mimics the design of the bumper. I'm not sure what that's calling it. It's the bumper, is it the plow? It's probably more of a plow, but I've just called it the bumper, so I'll continue calling it the bumper. Is more clearly morphed into the chest. Still kind of has those kind of same details with these spikes and the eyes, and the pointed bottom mouth section, but certainly different. So I'm curious how that would work if like in an idealized transformation, if this would actually end up making the bumper and just shifting into that configuration. I don't know. But that still is very cool, very nice orange and purple going on that chest. A little bit of green on the abs section. And then he's got orange crotch area with skirt-looking bits. His arms are very much what you saw at the back of the tank. You got the Decepticon scan badge there, the red stripe, the fake tread, the extremely fake tread, since they aren't even supposed to be what the real treads are for the tank mode. You do have the red lower arms as well as those orange fists, but you also have gray upper arms that come out. And again, of note, this side doesn't have the Decepticon symbol, it's just this side, but there are 3 of these molded bits there. The legs, gray upper legs, predominantly black lower legs with these orange knee pads, a little bit of silver on top of the feet, and then you got these little green square sections, which I'll get into the purpose of those in a moment. And then you got the barrels on the back. As for articulation, his head can rotate a full 360 degrees. That is all it can do. Arms can rotate a full 360 degrees. You are able to adjust the position of the shoulder pads independently from the arms, but the arms are able to bend that far out at that orientation, but you can get them to go that far out at the transformation orientation. There is a bicep swivel allowing 360 degrees of rotation, as well as 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. Nothing at the fists, unfortunately. There is also a ball joint in here, and you can completely see the ball joint. It's actually a lot different from how ball joints work on Transformers, is that it functions like how it would in human, that the ball from the limb goes into socket attached to the main body, which is certainly different and is annoying because when you want to move it forward, you're going to pull the chest panel. You sometimes end up pulling the chest panel out of the way, so that's a little bit annoying. But back to the articulation, he does have rotation at the waist, a 360-degree rotation there. His legs are able to bend that far forward and that far back, and it's not even because of the skirt panel, it's like just the design of the hips and this upper orange bit actually get in the way before the back of the skirt gets in the way. But he is able to do full splits, able to bend his legs out that far to the side, 360 degrees of rotation at the knee, and slightly greater than 90 degrees of bend at the knee. The knee pads can move, I guess, if you want to do that, and there's nothing at the feet. But the turret is able to bend that far forward. You can flip it all the way back if you want to, though flipping it back up will pop it out of the 5mm post it is attached to. And you can like get it to rotate that tiny bit. But you're able to like have that cool silhouette and then have him bring them down and forward to be in a proper firing position, which is really neat. However, while we're talking about the turret, you are able to take it out of that socket and place it into his hands. And he can hold his cannon. However, I do very much prefer him having it on his back because that just looks really cool. I had debated a long time which looked better with the cannons up or with the cannons down, but at the end of the day, I think that silhouette looks the best on Bludgeon, or at least this mold of Bludgeon. But he can hold his sword like he was before, so he can do that. I guess he can technically hold it by the 5mm post, but that's not how you sword. There is no storage on the back for the sword. However, this is where these bits get into play, and that they end up being storage places for the sword themselves. Usually that would end up being on the hips, but having it at that position does allow Bludgeon to look like he is ready to draw his sword from its stored place, which is pretty neat if you ask me. He's ready to cut someone open. It does work. Now you can do it on both sides without looking too weird. It is only a 1mm post on the side, so the sword will be the main part of the blade will be facing up on the side if you are doing that, and down on this side if you have it over here. Sometimes, I don't know why sometimes it's weird getting in because it's kind of a shallow hole. So sometimes it doesn't fit all the way well, but you are capable of doing it. You are definitely capable of doing it, and that does look quite good on him. But getting rid of the sword, we are going to get into some robot mode size comparisons now. Here he is with Legends class Bumblebee, and you can see Bumblebee's a little bit taller than him, a little bit taller than Bludgeon's waist. We have Deluxe class Chrome Dome, who is about like a half a head taller. He's a fair bit taller than Bludgeon at the head. We have Leader class Megatron, and Bludgeon's head just about comes up to the bottom of the gray channel piece, but the gray chest piece, sorry, but the tops of the cannons basically come up to the top of Megatron's chest panel. We have Leader class 6-shot, who we always have to raise the camera for, and you can see Bludgeon's head comes up to about the bottom, the middle of that skirt panel, and those cannons come up to about the black circles on his chest. And then, of course, here are the channel's mascots, Soundwave and Wheeljack, so you can see how he looks next to them. And they are off center. There we go. On center size comparison. Overall, Bludgeon is a really nice figure. I already mentioned early in the review, this is going to end up being my Generation 1 Bludgeon stand-in. because this is a really nice interpretation. It's a bit more blocky and a little closer to the G1 aesthetic than the Revenge of the Fallen counterpart would be, and also that's a little harder to find, and also those swords tend to get bent a lot. So I am very, very fine with having this bludgeon. It looks really good. It is really nice. Simplistic transformation, alternate mode, has gaps, and clearly this is more designed to be a robot rather than a vehicle, though the vehicle is still pretty cool. And the robot mode, despite being simplistic, is quite fun to pose, quite really good to look at, and it's just all around a nice bundle of fun. So I say if you get a chance, if you happen to find this has been a bit of a rare figure to show up, but if you happen to find this, I would highly recommend you pick it up. But that is all I have to say on Decepticon Bludgeon. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please like and share this video and subscribe to the channel. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SoundJack426. Also, please consider donating on my Patreon page to help support the channel. All the links will be in the description below. Thanks for tuning in. This is SoundJack's signing off.